Well, hey there guys, Tom here. Welcome back to my movie channel and thank you very much for joining me for this, my favorite video in a year. This is the definitive top 10 best/favorite movies of 2022. The only list you need. Stop looking, you've found the list. Today I'm joined by my friend James. So we both have a top 10 list of our favorite/best movies of the year. Couple of disclaimers first of all. The first one is a blanket spoiler warning for any movie that was released in the year of 2022. We may or may not be talking about spoilers, so just you have been warned. The second disclaimer I have to give is, of course, that everyone's list is going to be different, so make sure you jump down in the comment section below. Let me know what your favorite movies of the year were. And the last disclaimer I should give is that James and I don't know what each other's top 10 lists are, so it's going to be a completely surprise to us as well. So, with all of that out the way, if you haven't been here before, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring that notifications bell so you never miss out on my take on all things movies. James, it's been a great year for movies. I've really enjoyed seeing all these movies with you this year. So I'm going to let you kick this off. What was your number 10 favorite movie of 2022?
Oh, my number 10. And you know what? This goes to a very, very special movie. Very, very dear to my heart. Of course, I am joking. It goes to the one, the only, the Black Adam.
Black Adam? Was it The Black Adam? The Black Adam.
I don't actually know if it was called the Black Adam or not.
It's Black Adam.
But it is now the Black Adam.
The Black Adam.
The Black Adam. Oh yeah, so Dwayne Johnson doesn't act like The Rock in this movie. It's actually quite a far cry from all the other movies I see him in. But that doesn't really matter. It has a nice mixture of humor, and despite the critic reviews, it's actually quite enjoyable. It probably has the best fight scene I have seen in any superhero film to date. And it introduces a number of characters that I'd actually be very willing to see elsewhere. The dialogue is a little bit flimsy, but it is at least consistent.
It's a fun movie.
There's nothing particularly offensive about it. It doesn't quite reach the heights that perhaps Wonder Woman would, but Wonder Woman has a bit more meat to it, whereas this is definitely more for your casual superhero viewing.
Balls to the wall action. I had a lot of fun with Black Adam. Okay, so I just realized we didn't talk about honorable mentions, but we'll do that afterwards.
Honorable mentions come at the end.
We'll do that at the end. All right, my 10th favorite movie of 2022, and I struggled with this because this was up a little bit and then it was down a little bit. It is Violent Night, starring David Harbour as Santa Claus. If you've seen my review, you know I really enjoyed this film, the violence of it, but I also love that like Santa has this, they gave him like a backstory and lore, and like it really like sort of, I don't know, added something to the movie where they grounded him with this backstory that he was this warrior and that he killed people with a hammer. And then, his relationship in the movie with the little girl I thought was great. And just seeing, it's the Santa Claus being a badass movie that we've wanted to see for a while. Because there was that other one with Mel Gibson that wasn't that great. So, yeah, Violent Night, number 10. Really enjoyed this film. A fun time at the movies. It's not winning any Oscars. It's not going to win any Oscars. But it's a fun time at the movies, and I had a great time watching it. James, number 9.
So, my number 9 is an easy segue. Violent Night.
Oh, it is Violent Night. Yep. I was wondering if it was going to make your list. It did. Okay, yep.
Nope, it is definitely a good movie. I think it has done many things correctly. I think it does actually have a bit of character. It is a bit on the slow side, which does let it down. However, it does have some very interesting plots and character developments. It is probably, as I am harassing Tom regularly on his videos, the best example of how to act at a family gathering without being a complete and total knob. So it definitely stands out as both an entertaining film for all ages that involves significant amounts of blood and guts and kicking. You're not allowed to say kicking asses, kicking anuses, as well as an educational film that should be shown at all schools all ages.
Did you not feel like the family, like in that, like it was a bit of a Knives Out kind of feeling with the family? Like that's what I really liked about it. It gave me that kind of Knives Out feeling.
Well, it wasn't like Knives Out as in the family structure, but it was Knives Out
the
as
attitude.
in they're ready to stab each other in the throat at a moment's notice. Yes, that is definitely a thing.
Would you like to know what my number 9 is?
Please, tell me your number 9.
So this is a movie that we saw very recently. In fact, most recently. We saw this movie last night. It's The Fabelmans. Steven Spielberg does it again. This movie was so good. I loved this film so much. So basically, to me, this movie it's a coming-of-age story, but it's also a family drama, but it's also wrapped up in this like wrapping of why, and it just reminds us why we love movies, and at least it did it for me, and it really touched me, and the kid's story throughout the movie of wanting to be a director and wanting to make movies, and it really did like touch my heart and pull on the heartstrings, and just reminded me, yes, I love movies, and this movie reminded me why I love the movies. James, please.
So my number eight, which I actually did have to double check because I've gone from number 1 to number 10, not backwards. And so I have to remember the order backwards. So number 8 is bound to bring a smile to everyone's faces.
Yeah? Oh, it's Smile.
Quite literally. It's a movie about finding or moving on, passing on from trauma and the implications that your personal affiliations can have in your ability to overcome obstacles and psychological damage. Of course, none of this is true. It is a bad end movie, and it is one of the most miserable and by far the creepiest movie I have ever seen. But for anyone who likes horror, it is a bit cliche, it is a bit corny, but it really stuck out, and I would definitely recommend you watch it because...
He's going to make me watch it. I haven't seen Smile yet. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm going to make him watch it at 10 p.m.
Yes. No, 9 a.m.
10 p.m.
Okay, my number 8. We're up to number 8, right?
Yes.
I can't count. My number 8 is the sequel. We mentioned Knives Out. Of course, the sequel to Knives Out, the sequel. It's really just another movie in the same franchise. It's not really a sequel, but it is Glass Onion. I friggin' love this movie. I don't love it as much as the first Knives Out. Like, I think the first Knives Out is still a better movie, but Rian Johnson does it again. What a mystery. The cast of characters. Daniel Craig as Benoit Blanc. Love this movie so much. I thought it was a fun time at the movies. Can't wait to watch it again on Netflix. Netflix, listen up. You should give your movies like this. If they're good quality, give them a full theatrical release. Not this, we're going to put it in theaters for a week just to satisfy Oscar consideration. Bullshit. That's my number 8. I love Glass Onion, by the way.
Okay.
7.
Well, moving on to number 7. Lucky 7 is Lucky the 7. Menu.
The menu, yeah.
Actually, now that I think about it, did the menu have 7 items?
I can't remember how many courses.
No, I think it may have had 6 courses plus a
cheeseburger.
7th.
Plus a cheeseburger, yeah.
The movie that will make you hunt for a cheeseburger, as we did.
Immediately
after. It is actually quite a nice film starring Anya Taylor-Joy, who in her, she has a very particular style to her, but it does work out well. She's fairly detached from her romantic partner, and you soon realize that things aren't as they seem with this whole film. Everyone who's been invited to this prestigious and exclusive restaurant is not there for goodwill, and nor are the chefs. In fact, the chefs live and breathe on this island. They're so hard into it. It's actually incredible. But the consequences of their efforts are quickly becoming apparent, and things turn murderous and violent as the night goes on. And so Anya Taylor-Joy has to scrounge around and try to find a way to escape her inevitable fate before the final course.
The menu's great. Would you like my number 7?
What is your number 7? Does it involve 7 courses?
No, it doesn't. But it does involve someone hunting for prey. Prey is my number 7th movie of the year. Prey. Listen, I'm not a massive fan of like the Predator franchise. You know, you and I went and saw the other Predator movie a couple of years ago, which wasn't great.
Oh, that one. Oh.
But Prey was so much fun. Amber Midhunter is the girl in the movie. I thought this movie was so full of tension. It was fun. It was violent. But also, like, it did have a little bit of heart. You had the sister and the brother and the bit of that family dynamic in there as well. And she just kicks ass in this movie. I thought it was great. I had a great time watching Prey. Really, really enjoyed this film. My one lament about Prey is that they didn't release it in theaters. I kind of get why they didn't, but I would love to see it on the big screen.
I think it would have done really well on the big screen, and that also leads me into my number 6.
Yes.
Once again, an easy segue in Prey.
Are you serious?
Yes, I am. So once again, similar comments. Prey is probably the easiest and most well-rounded movie to recommend to most audiences. It genuinely does feature a female hunter who is trying to prove herself among male peers. The movie does lend into the fact that as a female, she is not physically as strong as the males. And so while they rely on brute force, she has to rely on wit and trickery to succeed.
I love that aspect of it so much.
Yes.
I love that so much because she was able to take them down with her smarts.
Yes. However, the movie also acknowledges that wit and trickery is not necessarily enough to get by. There is one major criticism during an altercation between her and the other hunters,
Right.
for which it honestly just feels like they held back more than they should have. I mean, I get that it's a movie and no one was really hurt, but
Still a fun time.
it was. And frankly, if 60 seconds is going to ruin the movie for you, you probably shouldn't be watching movies.
Well,
So-
it says you and me, who sometimes 60 seconds of a movie does ruin a movie.
Yes, that has happened. That recently happened, very recently.
Very recently. Number 6. My number 6 is a movie about two friends who are no longer friends. It's The Banshees of Inisherin.
Yep.
Despite the horrible time we had getting to the theater and out of the theater of this movie, I thought this film was great. And it's one of those movies that, when we first saw it, I thought I really enjoyed that and I liked that, but I wasn't sure how much I liked it. And this is a movie that just sort of sat with me and it stuck with me. And I just love. I don't want to be friends anymore. And he's dull. Like Brendan Gleeson, Colin Farrell. You want to be. I just want to hug the Colin Farrell character in this movie. And it's also, it is funny and it's witty, and the dialogue I think really is what makes this movie work. If the dialogue wasn't so sharp and so funny and like it has this cadence to it and this pace to it. I'm talking about the dialogue, not the movie itself. But it also gets really dark really fast. If the next time you bug me, I'm going to cut one of my fingers off. Like,
Oh, yeah.
oh God, this movie. And listen, I wasn't entirely happy with the resolution, with the ending of the film. I get it, but I wasn't entirely satisfied. But the rest of the movie was so good. I enjoyed the dialogue so much, the chemistry between Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson, off the charts. Loved this movie. And the sister as well. I really like her. All men are feckin' dull. Anyway.
If you were not going to mention that, I was going to.
Yeah. And the animals and the goats and the, yeah.
Yep. No, the animals are good and a lot of the humor is spot on. However, our experiences at the Capri, where we saw it in this instance, partly because Dipstick here didn't want to go see Tar, and thus we missed out on an opportunity to meet Kate Blanchett.
We did.
Of
She
course.
was there. She was going to be, yeah, I know. If I'd known she was going to be there, I would have booked the ticket, James.
Of course, the combination of the stress of not meeting Kate Blanchett because of him, as well as the swarm of mosquitoes, inevitably forced me to call an ambulance for my next meeting.
Go on.
So, ambulance, probably
Michael Bay does it again. Ambulance. Yeah.
Yep. I have no idea who Michael Bay is. I know he's a director.
He's the director.
But,
He directed James, he directed the movie you're talking about.
yeah, or for any other long-time viewers, who's Harvey Weinstein?
Yeah, exactly.
That's how bad I am with names.
Ambulance to me was a
Anyway.
movie that was Michael Bay bought a drone and wanted to show it off because every shot in this movie is a drone shot.
It is. Technically, it is actually quite impressive, and the plot is rather simple but effective. Two brothers try to rob a bank, and unfortunately, one of the brothers
Doesn't go
who is a career criminal, he hires a very bad crew who are dickheads who get themselves killed, and they completely blow the entire operation. So they end up shooting a police officer and then have to keep him alive with a paramedic in an ambulance for about 2 hours.
So why did you like it? Because you're describing the plot, but you're not. Why did this movie stick out to you then?
Because, specifically, as simple as the plot is, everything can go wrong. I mean, it's a simple synopsis.
You like
But
those
everything
movies
goes
that-
wrong, and
yeah.
it's stressful, and the acting is good, the direction is
It's actually
good.
really
it is,
stressful.
It is very succinct,
Yes.
and by far it is the most tension-heavy movie on this list. It really does not have a comparison, and if you are of a weak disposition, I would not recommend that you watch this movie, as it may induce heart attacks and panic attacks. I am
Maybe
joking.
an ambulance after seeing this movie. Yeah.
You may require one for yourself.
Yeah.
All right. And to you, number 5 is?
You want my number 5, do you? Do
Yes.
you really want it? Do you want it as bad as going to Paris to get the ideal dress? Because my number 5 is a movie that probably not a lot of you went to see. Probably not a lot of you even know this movie exists. This movie is Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. And listen, this film, I was not, like, you talked me into this movie because we saw the trailers for it. Like, basically, she's going to Paris to find is it a Dior dress? Anyway, and and we saw the trailers for it, and James is like, I want to see that. That looks delightful. And I'm going, it's a chick flick. Anyway, oh my God, this movie was so fucking delightful. I want to just hang out with Miss Harris all day, every day, and twice on Sunday. I loved this movie. It was just a delight. It had a lot of like good feeling. It's just a good feeling movie. You just feel good watching it. And, you know, I just love the characters, and I just love watching her on this journey. You know, there's not a lot of like, there's no action. You know, there's nothing blows up. No superhero flies down from the sky. But Mrs. Harris is the superhero to me of 2022. I just thought this movie was a freaking delightful time, and I really, really enjoyed it. James.
Well, I am pleased to hear that. And now that I've scratched my nose and everybody has been able to see it, because for some reason my nose is itchy, always the worst time, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you say Mrs. Harris is possibly the woman of the year.
Yeah.
Now I'd like to move on to the king of the year.
Yeah.
Viola Davis,
Yes.
who stars in The Woman King,
Yes,
a
The Woman
nice little
King.
film about, well, it's not a nice film. It's actually quite a bloody and gory film. It is controversial, and the controversy is that the director did not take liberties. She outright warped history for her own parochial reasons. But the movie itself is actually quite solid. It is an anti-slavery film with it probably goes too heavy on the evil white person kind of narrative, but honestly, that's kind of in the opening and then nothing else. The story follows two paths, which is Dahomey fulfilling its own role and its own independence through the use of the abaji, which are warrior women who have been specially trained in service to the king, as well as a girl and recent recruit into the abaji.
I love the girl.
I don't think I should actually spoil her particular storyline, because it's actually quite pleasant to
It's
watch.
powerful.
But there is actually quite a bit of ingenuity into the action scenes. One of the women has actually sharpened her nails to such a sharp point that
She pieced
the standard... Oh, it pierces the skin, but in combat, she uses her fingers to eye prod to permanently blind people. And that is a regular occurrence. So, with my number 4 down, what is yours?
My number 4.
Yes, your number 4.
My number 4 is very satisfying.
Very
As satisfying as driving from the movie theater to McDonald's to get myself a cheeseburger. Because the menu is my number 4. Listen, the menu to me, I wasn't sure what to make of it, right? And I'm like, Ralph Fiennes is playing the chef, and you know, Lord Voldemort is cooking dinner, which is hilarious. And then you've got Anya Taylor-Joy, you've got Nicholas Hoult. The female Asian waitress in the movie is terrifying. Absolutely terrifying.
Yes, she is. And I've seen her in a number of things, and I've never quite
And I don't
seen
know
her
the actress's
so
name, and I can't
intimidating.
remember the character's name, but this movie was you never knew where it was going to go. The tension, at least I didn't, you probably did because you're smarter than me. The tension of this movie, the title cards that came up with every course, they would come up with a title card of what the meal was. And there's one that comes up that was just hilarious and got me really good. It was the bullshit one.
Yep.
And I've never had a movie, only in my life, has there been 2 movies that have made me want a cheeseburger so bad. The first one was Iron Man 1, where he gets off the plane and I want an American cheeseburger and a press conference. The second one is The Menu. If you haven't seen The Menu, see The Menu. And even if you don't like cheeseburgers, you will want a cheeseburger. And like we said before, James and I went and got cheeseburgers from 2 different places. So The Menu is my number 4. Anya Taylor-Joy, Ralph Fiennes. It's so good. I can't wait to watch it again. Loved this movie. James, number 3. Top 3. Here we go.
So firstly, I have to say that The Menu is an excellent piece of black comedy.
Oh,
It deals with death regularly. And, you know, the unbearable weight of massive talent in that film really must have been difficult for those chefs to pull off.
I wasn't sure if this was going to make your list. I really wasn't
it definitely
sure.
made my list.
Yeah.
So Nicolas Cage, a very unusual pick. Not somebody that I necessarily enjoy. He definitely is more of a performer than an actor now.
On a Stellar Declaration of Independence. Yeah.
Yes, but Unbearable Weight, it's very well rounded. It's is probably a little bit niche because you are still talking Nicolas Cage and not everyone's going to like him. However, the deuteragonist is actually quite charming and he comes across as a surprisingly sweet gentleman. There is a, I'm not sure whether I should call it a romantic plotline that runs underneath, but they are definitely very motivated. They definitely make use of their skills and they have good props. And there are actually funny moments involving, well, quite honestly, references to most of his movies.
Yeah, all of his movies.
Some of his memorabilia is, in his own words, it's grotesque.
It's grotesque. I'll give you 20,000 for it.
Exactly. So with that, Unbearable Weight does make my number 3 because I do think it is worth watching and I think a majority of people will enjoy it. But it may not be for you, but it is damn good. Now.
Do you know what's for me?
What?
My number 3. Do you know what my number 3 is, James? My number 3 is a movie you've already mentioned, The Woman King. The Woman King was a movie, again, it was a bit of a surprise because I was looking forward to the movie, but I wasn't like dying to see it. You know, I was like, if we don't see it, I can wait. I'm so glad we saw it on the big screen. I love this movie. The action sequences are all practical and in camera and very well shot. The characters, Viola Davis, like give her every Oscar possible. I loved her in this film as the Woman King. I love the King in this movie as well, played by John Boyega. He was great. The supporting cast, Lashana Lynch in this movie, you know, first rule is do what I, you know, that line. Love that.
Agosi,
what is her name?
Agosi,
something like that. She's so good in the movie. I love, like, this movie is, you know, it does have its comedic moments, but it also has its bloody, its visceral moments, but it has really good character development and character moments as well, and some really powerful emotional scenes, bloody death kind of scenes. I love The Woman King so much.
And it really does stand as a testament that they are actually very independent. And quite honestly, buff Viola Davis. She does. They do actually do a good job of making her look buff in that movie. And
it was the better Wakanda Forever. Is what it was.
Yes, if Wakanda Forever is a 6, Woman King, no, specifically buff Viola Davis is about a 20.
25. James.
All right, so my number 2 now. I had there were a number of competitors for my number 2. In fact, the top 5 are actually in close competition with each other. I do think that they are at the peak of, well, number 1 it stands out, but the next 5 are at the peak of their performance. But unfortunately, I can't pick everything everywhere all at once. And so,
are you sure it's not Morbius, James? Are we sure?
Why would it be Morbius?
Well, I don't know. The Blu-ray's here. I just figured one of us was going to pick Morbius because it is the best movie of the year.
Well, you don't know my number 1 yet.
I don't know your number 1. It might be. Anyway, please continue. Everything Ever All at Once.
So Michelle Yeoh, probably in the peak of her career, it was actually quite interesting seeing this movie because it's very, very multidimensional. In fact, it is the true multiverse of madness in many ways. And it is also a movie within a movie. So it's also the Inception trilogy, along with Lost City and Unbearable Weight. You remember that, don't you?
A movie within a movie, yeah.
Yep. So she has to... Sorry, I'm trying to remember the name. She is drawn into a multi-dimensional conflict against a great evil known as, I think it is Jabu Tupaki, a name that she continually gets wrong throughout the film. Colloquially calling her Chewbacca at one point. The film actually... Well, no, quite honestly, some of the techniques used in the film are very interesting and you don't really see them in the mainstream anymore. Apparently, her stunt work is also quite unique, which I only found out by looking behind the scenes. But apart from that, it also deals with issues of family, importance, significance, love, and nihilism.
Can I just say 2 words?
Yep.
Butt plug. Just had to throw that out there. Butt plug. And sausage fingers. The
hot dog fingers.
Hot dog fingers. Hot dog fingers.
There are very few movies that ever actually get to me in this capacity. And of course, I'm trying to dance around the topic so I don't spoil too much. But
butt plug.
The hot dog... The butt plug and... You have to sit through a lot of shit to get a butt plug trophy. And hot dog fingers, now that just grosses me out. It's like, it's not even that gross, but the thought of squirting tomato sauce and mustard from your fingers just, no. It's actually quite a funny movie and it is quite heartfelt, but ultimately it is something that you have to think about a little bit more. It's not just an easy watch necessarily, and it can go on for a bit too long depending on the viewer. Now, with mine done, what is yours?
My number 2 is Unbearable. It's weighty and it's full of talent. The unbearable weight of massive talent. You know this, I lost my damn mind for this movie. I thought the trailer was hilarious. Nicolas Cage playing a version of himself alongside Pedro Pascal playing this like cartel, supposed drug lord. This movie is like they say in the movie, Paddington 2. I cried through the entire thing. It made me want to be a better man. I loved this movie. This movie was hilarious. This movie also, it's about Nicolas Cage, so therefore it is about him within the industry of Hollywood and being an actor and having all these debts, they love having me at the hotel. You owe them $600,000. But again, this is a movie to me that again reminds me of why I love the movies, because this movie is about movies. And I love that the inception aspect of this movie, where they like made the movie that they were talking about in the movie that also is the movie they were talking about making. Like, it's, you know what I'm saying? It's that weird kind of thing. This movie was hilarious. It was bonkers crazy. Nicolas Cage was great in it. It takes a very special kind of actor to be able to jump into a role where they're going to be basically self-loathing and they're going to make fun of themselves, but they're also like going to pay respect. Like, the script pays respect to Nicolas Cage. It does make fun of him, but also respects him and understands that he is like a really good actor despite some of the shit that he's been in. But he's great. I love this movie so much. James, we've come to number 1.
Indeed. And before I jump into my number 1, I have to confess to everyone that I am starting to run out of steam. Talking for extended periods like this is not my forte. And for that reason, I fear that I must break away and go on a brief trip to Paris. Obviously, a lovely lady named Mrs. Harris will be joining me, in which she searches for the haute couture that will bring new meaning to her life. It is actually a surprisingly sad film, but with intense optimism. It is intoxicatingly sweet to the point of overstimulation. The conclusion was actually a bit too much.
There was a lot going on in the end.
There wasn't that. When you actually break it down, there weren't too many events. But
the ending was a lot, though.
You really did feel it, and it was just straight up an overstimulation. The actress who plays the lead and titular character is amazing. Most of the side characters are very strong. Each of them have their own personal issues. And if I had to describe the film, it would probably once again be quite niche. It is ultimately, it's not really a rom-com. It falls a little bit short of that category, but it does have strong themes of moving on. You are talking about a widower who hasn't opened the last letter from her husband since World War II.
Since he passed away.
13 years. She doesn't even know that if he's definitively passed away.
On that scene where she gets all this money, like,
That was... And yes,
and also funny too, because they keep walking into the... Anyway.
Yeah. And then she finds an opportunity to find meaning within her own life. And obviously, there are ups and downs. Serendipity does strike, and she is able to flee to Paris, where she meets a colourful variety of characters, and she is able to ingrain herself in their lives meaningfully in such a way that the conclusion is actually very, very sweet. It's actually quite profound how much of an impact that she's had on each of these people, and how she has stepped out from being a side or a supporting character in most lives and gone from the dreamer who never will be to someone who does experience life and takes the initiative in her own happiness.
You could just go on and on about this all day, couldn't you?
I could, but I am done.
Yeah,
I won't bore you any later.
I was just sitting here going, "Are you done? Can I talk about my number one?"
I thought being a number one, it should have a bit more.
No, and the movie does deserve it. It's really, really great. Yeah. So in this list, I've been to Inisherin, I've been to Africa with the Woman King, I've been to Paris with Mrs. Harris. I've also been to a remote island where a murder takes place. I've also been to another remote island where a chef prepares meals that aren't really full meals and makes an excellent cheeseburger. But nothing has taken me to the heights that is the highway to the danger zone and has taken me to the skies. Top Gun motherfucking Maverick. Top Gun Maverick. Look, I'm not really a big fan of the original Top Gun. I don't really think it's great, to be honest. I don't hate it, but I don't think it's great. So, Top Gun Maverick. I went in, it's a Top Gun Maverick. Yeah, okay. Terrible title. But, God, I love this movie. And, the fact that, all the aerial stuff is all real. Tom Cruise is really flying a fucking, F-18. The aerial combat sequence is amazing to watch on the big screen. Absolutely breathtaking stuff. One of my favorite things I've ever seen on the big screen in a cinema. But also this movie does have character and character development and emotion and heart. And like Hangman says, it is good, Rooster. It's very good. I know that's not the line, but I'm talking about the movie. So it is good, Rooster. It's very good. I freaking love this movie so goddamn much. John Hamm is in this movie. It's great. Ed Harris at the beginning of the movie, despite your best efforts, you refuse to die. Tom Cruise is great in this film. I love this movie. This movie was so good. It is blockbuster filmmaking at its finest. This movie really represents to me what blockbuster filmmaking can be. And surprisingly on my list, on either of our lists, you had a comic book movie on your list. My list didn't have a comic book movie this year. And, it could have. But it's the first year I've been doing these videos that a comic book movie hasn't made it. So let's go quickly and talk about some of the honorable mentions, some of the things that didn't make the cut. James, What are your honorable mentions?
Well, I might actually pass off to you initially so that we can alternate as you have 3 to my 2.
Oh, all right. I'll just do my 3 and then you can do your 2.
No, we'll swap. So you do 1, I'll do 1.
Okay, we're going to have a fight on camera. All right, fine. My third honorable mention that almost made the list that was very close is Fall. Mm-hmm. Fall is a movie where the two girls climb to the top of this satellite tower, and this movie was very disturbing, and I was very it's a movie recently that I've never felt more uncomfortable watching a movie. I enjoyed the film. It's a very good film. The dialogue is horrendous, absolutely horrendous. But
along with the best friend,
the dialogue is terrible. And there are things to pick apart in this movie and hate on, but just because of the experience that I had watching it and the feeling I had watching it of how uncomfortable the movie made me, and yeah, I don't know, it just made me feel things, and I appreciate it for that. And also the scene where she kills the bird.
Oh yeah, no, if there's one thing that you should be watching Fall for, it's not for the terrifying heights, the fight for survival, the death at every corner. It is for the fact that she beats the shit out of a bird, and then there is a potential stare down with another bird.
Yes.
Which I thought was just going to cut to her smacking the bird as well.
All right.
It was actually quite funny. It was one of the better laughs I've had this year. So 10 out of 10 would recommend Fall. However, Fall didn't even make my honourable mentions, unfortunately. As much as I would like it, it just didn't reach the heights necessary. So mine, which is similarly terrifying, but a bit earlier in the year, actually goes to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. I mean, Scarlet Witch and the Multiverse of Madness. This movie came close, and it would have displaced Black Adam. Well, actually, it would have done a lot better if and only if it was a Scarlet Witch movie and not a Doctor Strange movie. Because personally, when I was watching it, Doctor Strange is boring. There's not really much character development.
He's a backseat in his own movie, and I love the movie too.
Basically, but it is and unfortunately, his character is a bit of an asshole. There's no other way to put it. He's not the most pleasant. It's always, I have to do this. But he never has to do anything. He just chooses to do it. And so he deliberately hurts the people around him. And obviously the memes are great, but they really don't add anything to the movie. Unfortunately, Wanda is the lifeblood of the film because her plight of trying to be reunited with her children is actually quite...
Her children.
Oh,
Her
no.
children.
Well, depending on the direction they go in, if it follows the comics, her children actually become real.
They do.
But we'll see if the MCU goes that far. But she still wants to find the children. And of course, she has ultimately been corrupted. The scenes with Wanda are actually the most interesting. Her breaking out of a gong, her influencing the mind, breaking out of a prison of mirrors. I'm not really sure what it was called.
The mirror dimension.
The mirror dimension. But things like this were actually by far the most interesting. And even the final confrontation with her own self in front of her children was actually pretty good. It's just unfortunately it took a backseat to Doctor Strange because apparently this was a Doctor Strange movie.
Okay. Shall I... Yep. My next honorable mention is She Said.
Oh, yeah.
She Said, people always think they know what journalism is. It's not until you watch this movie that you realize, no, this is real fucking journalism. This was a journalistic thriller, I'll say. And, it documents real life and the real life story of how these women came to expose the story of what Harvey Weinstein was doing and the systemic problem in the industry as a whole. I really enjoyed the movie and watching these two ladies uncover the truth, shall we say. And I just thought it was a really smart movie. It also had some moments of quite funny moments in it as well. But it also illustrated, you really watch this movie and you're like, we all knew Harvey Weinstein's a bastard. But you watch this movie and you're like, and you hear, and they're not real, they're actresses playing victims, portraying victims. But they did such a good job in this movie. The acting is so real that I went, oh yeah, I just want to Harvey Weinstein, fuck that guy. So She Said is my second honorable mention. James.
And you know what? In all seriousness, She Said just came short of an honorable mention. It missed out on the top 10 for two reasons. The first is, for some reason, they have a clip about Donald Trump, which I'm pretty sure is there just to bash on Donald Trump.
It was a perfect clip. There was nothing wrong with the clip. It's a perfect clip. Believe me.
It's a 15-minute clip. It really, and I thought it just took away from the film. The second one was that it didn't really give any hope to the victims in the situation.
I think it did. I disagree, but anyway.
Well, I think a lot of people walking out of it would actually feel uncomfortable. But
I think that was the goal, though. I felt uncomfortable.
Yeah, but for this type of movie, you're not trying to make them feel uncomfortable. You want to reinforce them.
Okay.
She Said, that's my personal opinion. But anyway, that's why I didn't hit my honorable mentions. But I just thought I'd mention that because now it is an honorable mention. So we'll just move on to your next honorable mention.
Oh, you only had two. That's right. So my last honorable mention, and I feel like I just have to say this. There were others that could have made these honorable mentions. I could have an honorable mention to the honorable mentions. I could have Doctor Strange. I could have Lightyear. A couple other movies I really liked. Lost City with Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum. Look, again, a movie that is not going to win any Academy Awards, but I do love Sandra Bullock. That woman still looks good in her 40s. Oh my God, she might even be 50. I don't know. But oh my God, that woman she really does age like fine wine. Her in that pink suit in this movie. Holy crap. Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt has a small role in this movie as the guy that they hire to go and track her down. So good, so funny. This movie was just a fun adventure film. It was the movie that we were kind of hoping Uncharted would be. This movie has more sense of adventure than a movie based on video games that are really good about adventure. And I really enjoyed The Lost City. I thought it was really, really fun. Unless James has something else he would like to say.
There is one more, because technically She Said is not an honorable mention for me.
Yeah.
But I do think it is actually good, and it is probably actually worth a mention anyway.
Yes.
So my second honorable mention is actually Top Gun, a movie that I don't personally like that much, but I can actually see great potential in it. I'm not a big fan of Tom Cruise, and honestly, the movie did a lot more showing the results of what he did than actually showing him doing the things. And so it did feel a bit artificial.
But you had fun.
I had fun, and it was well put together. And honestly, I think Tom Cruise is vastly overrated. I think this movie is a good example of it. People are allowed to have their own opinion, obviously, but I've never been a big one on him because he does tend to tell you what's happened and then show you the results of his actions rather than doing them themselves.
So let me
is
ask
a
you
bit
this.
weird.
Let me ask you this. Why didn't Morbius make your list? What's wrong with Morbius? Are you anti-Morbius?
Morbius is too perfect for this world, and it had to flee to another world.
I feel like I had to be edgy by not putting it on the list. You know, I had to be different and not put it there. Because if I feel like I put it there, I didn't want to be a sheep.
See, you don't want to put Morbius too high up on the list
No.
because you might break the multidimensional fraction.
It might be the greatest movie ever made. Anyway, with that down, unless you have any other honorable mentions you'd like to mention, because I forgot you had another one. That brings us to the end of this top 10 favorite movies of 2022. Make sure, once again, if you guys have your top 10 favorite list, top 5, whatever, leave them down in the comments section below. We're all fans. Let's have some fun talking about our favorite movies this year. James, thank you so much for a great year of watching movies together. We've almost seen every movie together this year, and it's been really fun. And yeah, so thank you for doing this video with me. This was a lot of fun. Let's do it again next year. And yeah, if you guys haven't been here before, make sure you hit that subscribe button, ring that notifications bell so you never miss out on my take on all things movies. Thank you guys very much for watching my content this year. My name is Tom. That is James. And we will see you guys next time.